Try now. Just waiting for Miro to join. I hope it works this time.
I think so.
Oh, sweet. Right.
Horrible angle. I gotta lift this thing up. It's looking down my throat. There we go.
All right, guys. So, yeah, welcome Miro to Crypto Australia. How are you?
Hey, thanks for joining and thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
So I guess we just want to talk about Stack and the STK token and all your partnerships and what's going on. So would you be able to, I guess, explain to everyone what you guys are doing in the space?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started Stack probably about a year and a half ago. Really the purpose of Stack was to create a fiat wallet that you could use anywhere in the world, really based on multi-currency principles. Myself, my background, prior to working at Stack, I worked in capital markets for a large bank in Canada doing foreign exchange and international remittance. So I understood what it took to move money around the world. And prior to that, I was working really closely with Richard Branson and launched Virgin Mobile here in Canada back in 2005. So we took a lot of the principles that we used and that we learned from Virgin and applied them to money. And that's really how we created Stack. So we took Stack and created this multi-currency wallet that allows you to access your money anywhere, anytime in the world, and essentially allows you to tap and pay anywhere in the world as well. And since we built this multi-currency wallet, we figured out that we could incorporate cryptocurrency as one of those multi-currencies as well. So we started working on that in the summertime, and we built out a proof of concept and actually got it working. So essentially, we layered on cryptocurrency on top of our multi-currency wallet that would allow you to tap and pay essentially anywhere in the world. The way that we got integration into the existing points of sale is that Stack itself has a partnership with MasterCard, and we work on the MasterCard prepaid rails, and that allows us to access 37 million points of sale all over the world. So essentially, Stack works wherever MasterCard works anywhere in the world. So essentially, any point of sale terminal that accepts credit card or debit will accept Stack, which is a huge opportunity for us because now we don't have to sit there and worry about integrating with retailers. We're essentially accepted everywhere in the world. So we went out and we devised a solution. We documented it within the white paper. We went out and we did an ICO in the fall, and we had some great success there. Had some great followers. A lot of your community on here are a lot of our supporters as well. And we went and we hit that hard cap right on Christmas Day, and we had a successful raise. We distributed the tokens at the end of January, and now we're getting ready to actually launch the pilot of the fiat wallet here in Canada in the next couple of days, and then we're going to be doing a full-scale launch in April.
All right, so you pretty much touched on every single basis I want to hit, but could we just sort of go into more depth on, I guess, the long-term goals of Stack and also how that financial IQ system works inside Stack?
Yeah, absolutely. So the big opportunity that we have is really the way that we look at Stack is not just an app to help you with payments. It's really not there just for payments. It's really there to be the replacement for your bank account. What we've done is on top of this MasterCard prepaid rail is essentially created all these products and services that replace your bank account. And since we've done that, we can eliminate all the fees and charges. So you could hook up your payroll to this. You could pay bills directly from our account. You could tap and pay a point of sale. You could do peer-to-peer transactions. So you could do everything that a traditional bank account does with our Stack account. And then we layer on the multi-currency, and that allows you to access global currencies all around the world. We could exchange them in real time, and then we can incorporate cryptocurrency as well. Now, since we're sitting on all that really rich transactional data, we could provide back to our consumers a level of financial IQ that everyone's kind of looking for. It's really hard to get, really rich financial insight from banks. They just don't offer it to you. When you go out and you try to get help in terms of, pulling yourself out of debt, usually they layer you into just another credit product, or they push you into other services that you really don't need, that really don't necessarily help you and resolve the issue of you pulling yourself out of debt. With the transactional data that we're sitting on, we apply machine learning and AI to that, and we can give you some really rich insight based on peers in your same segment or in your same demographic in terms of how they're spending their money well and how they're pulling themselves out of debt, and give you a monthly index. That way you can start figuring reach the goals that you're trying to achieve to get you into the next phase of your life.
So because you guys are running on the Ethereum as an ERC20 token, you guys are going to have to obviously do all your off-chain transactions. How is the security based off those off-chain transactions? Obviously, it seems something like with what Litecoin's doing. I just want to know, is it as secure as doing transactions on-chain compared to off-chain?
Yeah, it's actually completely secure, because what happens when you take a transaction off-chain is it essentially almost turns into a peer-to-peer transaction where you have only two interactors. You would have yourself transferring the money, and then you would have STK opening up that real-time payment channel off-chain. So those are the only two players in that mix. And then what happens is, as soon as that transaction settles, then it gets posted to the nodes. And so that transaction gets distributed across the blockchain, and you could reconcile it just like any other transaction. The opportunity of taking that transaction off-chain is speed, because right now the biggest issue with most of the blockchains out there is that transactions just don't settle in real time. They can take anywhere from 2 minutes to 20 minutes to settle. And if you want to settle at point of sale, it's got to settle within 7 milliseconds. 7 milliseconds. So if you're not settling within 7 milliseconds and you're waiting 4 to 5 minutes for a blockchain transaction to settle, that transaction is going to fail at point of sale. So that's really the opportunity of taking those transactions off-chain, is that taking that duty of hitting the nodes, do that after the fact, after the transaction settles. Very similar to that. It's a very similar system that would be used in most of the existing financial systems, where you have transactions settle and then gets posted to the ledgers after the fact.
So how many transactions can happen off-chain before something has to go back onto Ethereum? Is there any limit to the transactions that can happen off-chain? Does it just work like the Lightning Network? Is it just, is it just based on top of the original blockchain?
So it's really a business rule. What we've started to figure out is that you would want to almost keep a payment channel open for the length of possibly even a day, because that way it allows you to actually reduce your transaction costs. Because if you're constantly doing transactions and constantly settling them in real time, you're essentially still going to have transaction costs and settlement costs. So what you can do is you can bundle those transactions and bundle the settlements all at end of day. Those transactions can settle in real time at point of sale, but then you close that payment channel and then settle all those transactions in that one payment channel, in that one settlement event, rather than doing multiple settlements throughout the day.
All right, and then just another one. So does Stack plan to keep all tokens in its liquidity pool once fully operational, or will there still be secondary exchanges like, Bittrex or Bitfinex or anything like that?
So really the opportunity, and that's a great question, right? The opportunity of the actual STK wallet is the opportunity to incorporate multiple tokens within that wallet. So we're going to be launching, obviously, in day one, we're going to be supporting Ethereum, we're going to be supporting the STK token. But really our long-term vision is to incorporate other tokens as well. ERC20 tokens will be starting, but there's an opportunity to actually go cross-chain and apply cross-chain tokens as well. So we're working very closely, and we're in conversations right now with several of the players in place that would allow us to do that. Because really our goal is to essentially, whatever you carry on yourself or whatever you're carrying in your cryptocurrency wallet, we want you to be able to accept that and to be able to use that at point of sale. And really that's our ultimate goal.
So when's it getting released in Australia? When are we going to see Stack Fiat, Stack Crypto? You know, are we looking end of the year? What's the goal?
We're really enthusiastic actually about launching in Australia. In Australia, I mean, the ecosystem in Australia is very similar to what's happening here in Canada. In Australia, you know, you've got the 4 major banks and you have really no other competitors. In Canada, it's very much the same. You've got the 5 major banks and no competitors. So we think this is a very compelling proposition to bring down to Australia. And we're already in parallel conversations with several partners that can help us get up and running by end of year. We're launching in the US in the summertime, going into Q3, Q4. But in parallel, we're investigating very deeply to get Australia up and running as soon as possible as well.
All right, so everyone's expecting this question from me. Against MetalPay, what's the difference? Where do you guys see yourself positioned against Metal or 10x or Monaco? Obviously, you're far better off with that Apple Pay. You've already got MasterCard locked in, whereas Monaco and 10x have to use a third party for receiving their cards or getting their cards issued. So I just want to know, you know, on a grand scheme, are you guys trying to be a bank? Are you trying to get a banking license like the rest of them, or are you joining with banks, or what's the go?
Actually, we're actually not trying to get a banking license. Really, when you think about it and when you start talking about banking licenses, when we hear other competitors saying that they're going to go out and they're going to procure a banking license, essentially what's going to happen is they're going to be no different than any other bank out there. Because essentially they're going to have to start launching banking products. They're going to start creating their own risk compliance AML offices, and they're going to start getting very bloated as well. So the advantage of not having that banking license is going to start eroding when they start acquiring that license. And just because you go out and get a banking license doesn't mean that you could automatically issue cards either. You know, I've heard conversations, I've seen web chats of a lot of the competitors out there saying, oh yeah, we're just going to go out and secure a banking license. Well, that's great, but that doesn't mean that you could issue cards right from day one either. You have to start partnering with those card networks as well. And that's not a quick process. You know, these things don't happen in weeks or even months. It can take years to actually develop these things and even develop these relationships to the point that you can launch these products. From our standpoint, what we do is every region that we go and launch in, we've got a bank sponsor behind the scenes. And we leverage all of the regulatory requirements, the risk, the AML, the compliance, and everything that they've already done in that region. And we leverage that strength to actually allow us to accelerate, because that way we don't have to replicate that. And we sit on top of that existing relationship. That way we can, instead of concentrating on the regulations, which our bank sponsors do, we can concentrate on actually providing solutions to our customers. And that's really our main goal. And that's what's going to allow us to actually launch quicker all the way around the world, rather than trying to go and acquire licenses all over the world, because that's going to be a heavy task.
So were you once previously working for MasterCard, or how's that connection come in with MasterCard? So obviously, yeah, you could have gone Visa or anyone else, but I see on LinkedIn that there's a little note there about you working previously with MasterCard. I just want to know what that connection is. Yeah,
I mean, I did work at a startup called CSAM, which was doing digital wallets for the global banks all around the world. I was country manager here in Canada. While I built out that business in Canada and we had a lot of success, we ended up getting acquired by MasterCard. As well, my COO was vice president of digital at MasterCard here in Canada for over 7 years. We've got a wealth of experience working very closely with MasterCard. And by having that really close relationship, we understood that they were trying to innovate in the space as well. And they were really trying to facilitate everything that we were trying to do. And really were pushing us and enabling us to do this. When we looked at Visa, we didn't see necessarily that innovative roadmap. We saw the traditional products, which are great. But really when it came down to innovation, MasterCard was always our first choice.
All right, for anyone that's just coming in now, we're talking to Miro from Stack. If you want to start throwing up any questions you got, just so we can keep it rolling on. I just had a question on the ICO. Obviously, it was an airdrop. Yeah, what was the distribution before? Was it, you know, are there whales in there? Are people going to be scared to jump in because obviously the allocation is in such large hands, or was it spread out across everyone on Telegram? How did that go?
No, it was completely spread out. So the major contributors through the ICO prior to doing the actual airdrop was really some large individual, it was large syndicates that were getting involved. So we had groups of people coming in. So there were no whales. We actually didn't have any institutional investors at all. We didn't have any big VCs coming in. We didn't have any big hedge funds coming in. It was really individuals coming in, just to give everyone that level of comfort. As well, what we did is, since we didn't have that public sale, but we did have that great community following, what we decided to do was do an airdrop to the entire community, because they were waiting for that public sale to come, but we didn't think that we were actually going to hit that hard cap during our private pre-sale. Since we did, we set aside a large amount of tokens, and anybody that was registered as part of our community channels, we allowed them to jump in and get in on an airdrop, and we distributed those tokens freely to the entire community, to anyone that registered during that time period.
So the STK token is obviously the token that works on the network, and the network is the Stack application. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
That's correct. The Stack application utilizes the STK token to open up those real-time payment channels. It's really that utility that's kind of missing right now within the existing blockchain ecosystem.
So we're just going fiat at first? Is that what we're coming in with in this wallet? So, or let's just call it a bank account for now. So if you have your Stack account, is it just going to be fiat transactions in Canada? You're sort of leaving out crypto wallets at this point in time?
Crypto wallets are a fast follow. So we're getting fiat up and running because fiat allows us to test out the entire ecosystem to make sure that all the points of sale work. As soon as we've got that locked down and running, we'll be launching our multi-currency wallet on top of that, and then enabling cryptocurrency.
And is there deals for retailers? So, you know, if I was to, you know, use my Stack card or use my Apple Pay at a certain retailer, would they give me bonus Stack, or is there any sort of deal with that part?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're working very closely, and that's kind of the leverage that we had, is that we built very similar programs while we were at Virgin. So what we did is we went out and established retail partnerships. So the opportunity that we have right now is, again, since we're sitting on that transactional data, we can start figuring out very closely where people are spending their money. Those are the retailers that we're going to be going out and reaching out and getting opportunities and partnerships with. That way we can get merchant-funded rewards back to our consumers in real time. And those will be displayed within the app. If you've seen some demos of our app, we actually do merchant-funded rewards and offers directly through our app. That way you could opt into rewards and offers before you even get there. And as soon as you transact, you can get real-time discounts at point of sale.
Yeah, and where can we find STK token at this point in time? What exchanges are there on?
Right now it's being traded on Wabi. We have, let me think. We're also trading on IDX. We're trading, there's another one that I can't mention right now that we're going to be mentioning in the next couple of days. It's quite a large exchange, and I think it's going to be very positive for the community. I can't, like, until we actually list, you can't actually say who they are. But within the next 7 to 8 days, you're going to be hearing some great news about you know, another partnership that's going to be coming out very soon.
And there was another partnership announced last night, so I need to look that up actually. Could you explain that partnership that's just come out?
Yeah. So I2C is our global processing partner. What I2C allows us to do is they actually handle the money movement behind the scenes. So they handle the money movement between the actual accounts and through the MasterCard rails. The reason why we picked I2C is because I2C is actually a global provider. So when we start looking at global implementations like Australia, like South Africa, like Asia, I2C is already out there and already implemented their solutions. So it's very easy for us to get up and running in those future regions. And that was really important to us to select a processor that had that type of breadth.
Yep. So, all right. Well, I guess, does anyone have any questions for Miro on STK, on Stack at this point in time? So I've pretty much, he's smashed all my questions pretty well. So I was hoping I'd get some tricky ones in there. I was really hoping those off-chain transactions we'd catch someone out with the security flaws. I guess on a technical basis, I'd have to, you know, sort of look at how those if those off-chain transactions can be hacked. Obviously, it's not as secure. To me, it's not as secure running through the actual blockchain because it's your own ledger. I'm just wondering if that ledger you know, at any point in time can be compromised running through your own systems?
That's the opportunity, right? Is that since we're actually not conducting, so this isn't like a public transaction where anyone can get access to it. This off-chain transaction is essentially a one-for-one transaction. It's between you and us, and that's it, and nobody else has access to it. That's actually the additional level of security that you get, rather than posting it on-chain and then getting that intervention between that on-chain transaction. We're working very closely with leaders in the space, really some of the co-founders of Ethereum and a lot of the thought leaders in the space when it comes to payment channels. So we're going to make sure that before any consumer ever interacts with this, that this will be fully vetted and fully tested. But it looks like the direction and the response that we're getting from our thought leaders is that we're going in the right direction.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. You've got Miro. Is it Pavletic? How do I say that?
Pavletic, you got it. You nailed it. You nailed it on the first try. That's perfect.
I've got Miro Pavletic from Stack. So, yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming on Crypto Australia. So, and yeah, we'll hopefully get you again. Sorry, tongue-tied there.
Yeah, absolutely, Madison. Thanks for hosting us, and we'll definitely keep you abreast of all the news that's coming and all the great things that we're going to be doing in the coming weeks. So thank you so much for hosting us.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Miro.
Thanks.